Okay, recording. Hup, hup, hup. Okay, it's on full. Cool. Welcome back to the Dragon's Tongue. It is time, once again, for the second installment of Everything Wrong with Beastars. That's what I should have named it. Why didn't I call it that? I just called it the Beastars Saga, but I should have just called it Everything Wrong with Beastars, because really, it's just... Anyways, this time we are going to be talking about, and I forgot to mention two things last time. One, the manga that I am reading from, the one that I'm taking notes from, there is a bit of discrepancy when it comes to what the manga is, like translation errors, right? So I've seen clips or I've seen other mangas that have been translated to English that are different from the ones that I have. And it's not big changes, but it's subtle changes. So it's kind of like there are things where I'm just saying that as kind of a disclaimer that like some people who have the manga or read it, I guess maybe it's the ebook version is different, is the one that I'm seeing that's different. But I've seen a couple people who have made videos on Beastars. They've put up images of the manga, and what the words that are said are different than the ones in mine. So I don't know what that's all about. I got mine just straight from Amazon. No weird places, so I don't know. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm just going to say that. And the other thing too was what was the other thing? There was another thing that I was going to talk about. Um, I can't remember. I completely cannot remember what the other thing I was going to say was, that I forgot to mention last time. But it doesn't matter. We're going to be talking. Oh, the other thing that I just remembered. So these notes that I have in my book right here, they are all kind of like least problematic to most problematic in my eyes, right? So I just kind of wanted to put that out there that there is a format to this where it's like this is least to most kind of thing. So, my second big thing is there's a lot having to do with Melon that makes the Beastars ending such a bad ending, I feel like, and there's a lot of things with that, and we'll get to all of them, but Melon's father is a problem, okay? Mostly just because it means nothing comes of it, and it kind of it's just another unnecessary thing. So the fact that things are unnecessary in this those are the good parts. So Kiyu being an unnecessary character, that's a good thing. Because at least she's not a bad character. I mean, I kind of said that she was a bit of a mean character, but a mean character, a character who's kind of like, mean or selfish or any negative character traits don't make them a bad character, right? I think Kiyu is an okay character. I think she's just unnecessary, and again, she's mean. She sells that Legoshi, and there's no repercussions for that. I think that that's a problem. But she's not like a bad character. So the fact that these first two is unnecessary, the third part is kind of unnecessary too, but I hate it a lot more. But that's a good thing, actually. So the second thing is Melon's father. Melon's father kind of is a big bomb drop at the end of the second to last book. So there's 22 volumes, and at the end of volume 21, Melon's father shows up. They're just like, what's Melon the species? And his dad's just there. And he's a gazelle, of course. And he shows up and is just like, hi, I'm Melon's dad. Has he done something wrong? And it's this whole thing. And we go into Gosha and Yahya take Melon's father. I'm just going to call him MF because calling him Melon's father, he doesn't get a name. So, but Gosha and Yahya take MF away from the cameras because they're just like, we gotta get him away from the cameras. This is exploitation. This is bad. We gotta get MF to Melon so that Melon can realize that his dad's alive. Hopefully stop the war, right? Perfectly reasonable thing to do. So And then Gosha is kind of excited, right? He's like, "Hey, like what are you gonna do like when you meet your son? What's the first thing you're gonna tell him? You probably haven't seen him in a long time." And his father's just like, nothing. I just kind of wanted to see how he'd turn out because I don't know." So him showing up, he doesn't do anything. He just wants to, I don't know. He wants to see how his son turned out. Which, considering that there's a riot and a crime and this whole thing with the black market, you would think he'd know that, but apparently he doesn't. I don't know what that's all about. So, yeah, we have. And then Gosha kind of like. So, MF explains what happened with Melon and Melon's mother and him, right? He says, like, verbatim, I was young and foolish. I wanted to marry a carnivore because it was exciting. And then she got pregnant, and once Melon was born, I left because I couldn't deal with it and everything. And Gosha and Yahya are just like, there's this kind of weird part in the book where they make it out like this is an evil act. Like, this is so bad. This is evil. Like, I think Yahya literally says, like, it's scary, the subtler forms that evil comes in. And I'll admit that Melon's father leaving is a super scummy thing to do. Do not do that. Kids need their fathers. They need their mothers too, but fathers are such an important... both parents are such an important part of a kid's life. And I absolutely despise fathers who leave their children, for sure, especially when it's just a excitement thing, right? Like the Melon's father story arc kind of reminds me of like a guy who dated a stripper, right? Where it's like, oh, it's a stripper, of course, dude. I got this pretty sexy bitch who's just like doesn't care, and it's going to be so exciting. And then it's not so exciting, and then she gets pregnant and she's like, have a baby with me, have a family with me, because I want to give, because being a stripper isn't the best thing in the world. And once they're out of that, the guy's like not interested in them anymore, especially once they have the kid and then they run away. And so it is a super scummy thing to do, but is it evil? And the problem that I have with the biggest thing here too is that so this means that Melon's mother never killed Melon's dad, but she made him believe she did, which is bizarre. So this also is something that I kind of hate, because I loved Melon's backstory up until this point because it very much coincides with Legoshi's, right? Because Legoshi was there's this whole there's this whole kind of subplot in Beastars where it's a very known fact that romantic feelings and the feelings of wanting to devour an herbivore are very much the same. They go like hand in hand with each other. So there's kind of been this whole overarching narrative in Beastars, at least for me, where there is a question, right? Is Legoshi actually in love with Haru, or does he still want to eat her? Like, he almost let his emotions get away with him, and had it not for been a slight interruption, he would have eaten Haru in the first volume. I truly believe that. And like, Legoshi grows and becomes fascinated with this rabbit, and that fascination turns to love and adoration and all this stuff. But does that mean it's still a question, right? And the fact that Melon's mother ate his father, and she was like, I loved him so much. Like, she tells Melon, I loved him so much. He was amazing, and I loved touching your horns and everything because, you remind me of him, and all these things. And she also says, yeah, he also tasted delicious, right? She tells him all these things, like how great his father was, and how much she loved him. And then at the end of it, she's just like, oh yeah, by the way, he also tasted delicious. So that's a plus. And it's like, it's an amazing kind of like clash, right? Like, Melon is basically the foil character arc, right? Where there's always the foil is the enemy of the main character, who's basically a dark inversion of that character. And Melon having that idea in his head, because the psychopathology of Melon is like, my mom ate my dad. She loved him so much. She ate him. And that makes sense because when it comes to when he meets Haru for the first time, he's talking about this. He's like, romantic feelings and the feeling of wanting to devour someone is something I've never had before. And then this white rabbit comes along. And so we get that, right? We get that. And that's something I'll talk about later. But the fact that that's part of Melon's childhood and backstory was very important to me. So when Volume 22 showed up, or actually at the Volume 21, I was disappointed because I was like, Melon's dad's alive. So that just means Melon's mother is just a bitch. she's just a psycho bitch. Because, like, she had no reason. She could have told Melon that his father left them. And, like, I'm not one for parents demonizing their children against the other parent, but at the same time, it's like, why not just tell him that they left? Like, why you go this route that, like, oh no, I ate him. I ate him. I ate your dad. It's like, what? So, Melon has this whole idea in his head, and it's so important, again, to me, it's so important to Melon's psychopathology. And yes, he still does believe that's what happened. But it's almost like the story wants to do that. Oh, subversion! You thought Melon's mother ate his dad, but she didn't. He actually left and is a scumbag, and he's evil. It's like this whole narrative thing, like, right, where you can, like, tell the story's trying to send a message to its audience, where it's like, Melon's father is the real villain here, and it's like, no, he's not. Okay? He's a scumbag, for sure. But he's not evil. And, like, Melon's mother is a downright sociopath. Not only does she, like, she confines her son to this fantastical life of, like, nothing exists outside of you and me, and then she also tells him that she ate his father. She names him Melon because a melon is neither a vegetable nor a fruit. So it's just a constant reminder that he's a mixed species beast, which is just terrible. Like, she's a sociopath. And, like, I'm not saying one evil act outweighs the other, right? But I am also saying that why are we bringing this up now when we know that Melon's mother is what made him what he is? Like, and then we get into this is a kind of a suck it caveat into this point where we get this whole part where Gosha goes into this flashback. So while Melon is talking about this, he's like, she was obsessive. Why are women like this, dude? She was obsessive, and it freaked me out. Which, by the way, I'm like, yeah, it would freak a person out. Like, I don't care who you are. If your partner is obsessive and clingy, get the fuck out. Like, I'm sorry. That doesn't mean you have to abandon the kid. That's his biggest crime, was abandoning Melon as a kid with a horrible human being for a mother, right? That was his biggest crime. But, like, I don't blame him for leaving Melon's mother. She's a sociopath. Like, get out. But, like, Gosha goes into this whole, like, flashback mode. He's just like, oh, I know what real love is. And apparently, love is just kicking your own bucket. I'm not even joking. People have said that Beastars has a weird obsession with self-aside, and I denied those claims for a very long time, and it was just copium, pure copium, because I think it is. We have Legoshi's mother kicked her own bucket. Haru has a moment where she considers kicking her own bucket when she makes the deal with Melon that he can eat her, like. And then we get Gosha's wife, so Legoshi's grandmother's backstory, where she kicks her own bucket. Why, you may ask? It's because she wanted to make Gosha not hate himself. So she kisses him, and so he has this whole venom stuff that he sprays around the house or on her if he touches her. You know, he kisses her on the cheek. There's a part in the manga where he kisses her on the cheek. He squirts her and fucking rubs her face, you know, and every time it's like that. And she's like, can you stop doing that? It's annoying. And he's just like, I gotta be vigilant because I'm a venomous beast. And it's all this thing. So she hides away or gets rid of all his anti-venom stuff, kisses the dude on her birthday, and dies. Why? Because she says, and I quote, I wanted you to stop hating yourself for being born a Komodo dragon. Which, what a fucking brain rot move, right? You're like, I want to hate your. I don't want. That's like a person saying the wife of a gun nut or the spouse of a gun nut, because some women are gun nuts too. But that's like the wife of a gun nut being just like, no, I want you to. Love that you like guns, right? I want you to know how much you. I want you to revel in how much you like guns, and then they. It's like, oh yeah, that's really gonna make me like guns. Like, how is having her die by his venom make him stop hating himself for being a Komodo dragon? That would make me feel 1,000 times worse. And there's a problem with this too, that a big plot hole to me is like, how did Gosha and Toki is the name of Gosha's wife. So how did Gosha and Toki have a kid then? She kisses him and she dies. Like almost instantly too. There's like only a couple panels between she kissing him and him realizing all the venom stuff is gone, the anti-venom stuff, and then she's just like, I win, and then dies. Like literally that quick. She kisses him and he dies. But she can have intercourse with him. She can have sex with him, have a kid, get pregnant and have a child. That's okay. Like, I feel like intercourse is literally as intimate as you can get with somebody. And you're telling me that she can do that and get pregnant from his seed and have a kid, but she can't kiss the dude? Kissing is too far? Like, totally throws me off. That flashback totally throws me off because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And if you're wondering, what does this flashback have anything to do with Melon's dad? Nothing. That's the answer. Nothing. It's supposed to be this grand thing where Gosha's like, I can tell you what love really is. Because at the end of his flashback, Gosha's like, maybe you weren't ready for an interspecies relationship. But that doesn't mean you can't learn how to love. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, that was all weird, the flashback thing, Melon's father showing up, but Gosha's line there, that like you can still learn to love someone, it's never too late to learn to love someone, I think that's his direct quote. I was thinking like, okay, they're still gonna bring Melon's dad to Melon so that they can stop the war, right? No, they don't do that. They leave him behind. And Melon never even gets to know that he has a dad. Because, well, they're bringing Melon away after he also, again, more kicking your own bucket. Because Melon tries to shoot himself twice. They bring Melon, Yahya is carrying Melon on his back. And Melon's talking about how, like, what is the purpose of, like, carnivores and herbivores in the first place? And he's being all, he's thinking about it. And Melon's like, I bet mommy and daddy are still up there in heaven chasing each other. Mommy's still trying to eat daddy up in heaven and all this stuff. And Yahya knows that Melon's dad is still alive. And what does he say? Does he tell Melon, actually, Melon, we met your father. Your father's still alive and we'd like you to meet him. And it could have been, no. Instead, Yahya just tells him, I bet your parents are happy in heaven. So he just lies to his face, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I am completely lost because why even include all that? Like, what did that achieve? other than knowing a little bit more about Melon's backstory that we didn't need to know. Because, like, and I am a person that is all about flashbacks. I like flashbacks. I like story building through backstory because, again, I love psychology. So, it's the psychopathology of somebody really, like, you can't, unless they go into a deep freaking monologue, a whole exposition dump, you have to use flashbacks and, back to their childhood to see, like, what their life was like. But how does any of that affect our two characters? Right? There's two characters in that one chapter of the final volume that matters to, right? Melon, because we're learning about Melon's father, and Gosha, because we're learning Gosha has a flashback. Doesn't change anything about the two characters. Gosha, so his wife kicked her own bucket because of his... Does that make him hate himself more? Does that... I don't know. Does that... What does that achieve? What does that tell us? That Gosha raised his own daughter as a single parent because Toki kicked her own bucket? And Melon, what does that solve with Melon? Nothing, because Melon never gets to know that his dad's alive, and we didn't know his dad was alive. So this whole time we're thinking that one thing was true, and it's all true. Melon's dad leaving makes no difference to the story because the whole point of telling Melon's story, having Melon have flashbacks as a kid, is telling like his version of events. And his version of events are the only ones that really matter because Melon is the one making the black market this horrible rioting place. He's the one that is disrupting everything. He is the main arch villain. So all that matters is to him. Who cares if his dad left instead of getting eaten? He could have gotten eaten. He could have left. It doesn't make any difference. To me, flashbacks are about two things. You can either flashbacks to make a difference, with how you view the character, or even, flashbacks to how, like, you may view a different side of an event, right? Like, because now we got Melon's dad's side of things, which is interesting, but it doesn't confirm anything. So what would have been interesting is if Melon's dad said instead that I loved her, she was great, and because this would have all been so different if Melon's mother was affected this badly by him leaving. If we could have got, instead of Melon's mother saying how she ate his father, she could have been saying like how his father left or his father went somewhere, and it broke her brain, because that would have made me hate Melon's dad a lot more. Melon's dad establishes that she was clingy and obsessive. So, as far as I'm concerned, you're completely free to leave. They weren't married. They weren't like... It's just freaking weird. And again, there's almost a Geppetto and Geppetto, you know what I'm talking about. There's almost a Geppetto slant to Melon's mother, because there's this weird, awkward scene where she wants him to take a bath with her, and she asks him to take her bra off, and she kind of makes this weird moan, and it's like, it's almost insinuating that she loves Melon because he reminds her of the guy who left her, and almost to a point of disgusting depravity or something. I mean, it's just... So we know that Melon's mother is a fucking sociopath. Like, what is Melon's dad? It would be different if he was like, she was a really sweet girl, but I had bigger plans, baby. And he just left her. Like, knowing that Melon's mother was sweet, a sweet, kind person before Melon left would have made a little bit of a difference. It would have made something a little interesting there to chew on, where it would have been like, oh, that's interesting. So Melon's mother wasn't always a sociopath. She was driven mad by him leaving, which that's something that can happen, No. Melon's father establishes that she was obsessed with him, that she was clinging to him, and like, you could take it in the way that he's over-exaggerating, that like, because he says like, why are women like this, clingy and obsessive and all this stuff? But we know Melon's side of the story, which is that his mother absolutely was a crazy bitch. So I'm willing to take Melon's dad's word over Melon's mother's word when it comes to this, because we have all three sides of the event, except for Melon's mother. Melon's mother's the only one that doesn't really get her story told from her perspective. So maybe she wasn't clingy and obsessive before he left, but that's never established in the stories, therefore it does not count. So, the point is, Melon's father coming up in this story really hurt the story way more than it helped anything. So, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. It's just, it's really weird and really just unnecessary. And again, unnecessary is the best we're gonna get in this pile of everything wrong with Beastar Saga that I have, because it gets worse than this. But this is still bad to the point where it's like, it's just unnecessary flashbacks. Gosha's flashback is unnecessary and doesn't make sense. Again, like I said, the whole poison thing doesn't make sense. What dictates what's poisonous and what's not? He can have intercourse with her, and that's fine, but she can't kiss the dude. That's weird. And then Melon's dad showing up just doesn't solve anything. It doesn't make any difference. And again, Melon never gets to even know that his dad is alive, because Yahya lies straight to his face. So, yeah. So that was the Melon's father part of the Beastar Saga that I have going on here. I have 10 things on this list, so we're going down the aisle here. This is just the second video, but yeah, it's terrible. It really is just terrible. That part of the well, most of the last volume actually, but that's the most of this part that I have to say. I don't think there's anything else that I really have to bring up. But yeah. So, I will see you in the next video. That was the Melon's father part of the story that was unnecessary. Peace.